Welcome to Plainview Mansion. Now this isn't called Plainview Mansion because it's a plain viewing looking mansion. It's because it has an awesome looking view of the plains, as you can see from our capture drone. As you can see, this house has all you need. Its exterior is exquisite with fine detailing, with bricks and stone. That it is pretty awesome look. And then it's funny because once you get to this side of the house, it starts to look weird. And then there's this transition right at the alfresco, where the whole thing will change back from stone to brick. It's kind of confusing, but somehow it also works. It has your alfresco out here with all your needs, your fire and your barbecue. And then on the interior, has all your necessary needs down here. It has a wonderful looking television set, stereo of course, and this library over here. Right here you can see it has an awesome looking sunroof with tables around the sides, and there's this awesome looking rug. Through here we also have the storage workshop where you have all your basic workshop needs and furnaces and cookery and all the necessities with awesome looking floorboards. And then at the upstairs we also have this wonderful area, and you can see here it's got the brewing stand, and it's also got all your weaponry needs, and it has awesome storage. Also has this wonderful rug with a very familiar resemblance, if I would say so myself. So, how much does this wonderful place cost? Well, that's the catch. It's not for sale. The whole thing is, you're gonna have to build it from learning what you learn from this tutorial. What's up guys, 867716, and welcome to this, my new series. It's going to be all on building. Now in this series I'm going to teach you how to build stuff like houses, churches, castles, and little town settlements, and later on, if I get enough views, I might start doing suggestions. Now before we get into this video, I do hope you would like to leave a like on this video to show you've been enjoying this content, and if you enjoy this content, why not subscribe so you can receive more. And there's an Enderman in this house. Get out of here, you silly beast. Yeah, but hope you like that little beginning thing I've done. I'm gonna wonder if I'm gonna try doing that, but yeah, you can see from that that this house is pretty well built. But now I'm gonna teach you how to build houses just like it, and hopefully, if you pay enough attention, you can build houses just as good as this, and maybe even better. Who knows? You might be the next Minecraft building sensation. Now there are a couple things you probably should take into consideration when you build. Number 1, location. Number 2, shape of your house. Number 3, your block palette. Number 4, detail and experimentation. This is an important step because it will show your creativity. And last of all, probably one of the most crucial parts, number 5, building a good roof. Let's get right into it. Number 1, location, location, location. Now, location can depend on a couple of things, but the main two things it depends on is 1, what you actually want to build, and 2, how big are you going to build it. Now, if you want to build like a house on stilts with like a little bridge going on it, a swamp might be a good place to build it. And even if you build it on the land, if you build it on stilts, it might give it the impression that you're trying to get away from that murky, muddy ground. There's a lot of things that can do it. Like here, you see this hilltop. A little bit of terraforming and stuff, you might be able to get a decent little top house built, but then you might need a bigger mountain for that sort of stuff. Now, most times when you build, you often will have to make a clearing and terraform the land a little bit. This is a little bit tricky, but once you know how to do it, you can get used to it. So if I remove these trees, and then you can get a good idea of what the land looks like, with a little clearing, we can see that it mostly needs just a bit of flattening. So what you need to do is remove most of the dirt in that area and fill up the cracks, and then you can have a good even place to build maybe a square house or a rectangle with something jutting out, but we'll be getting into shape later. And there you see, with a bit of terraforming, you can now tell that this might make a good place. You can maybe leave a few little bits, but it depends on the shape and the size of your house how much you need to terraform. But there are a couple of examples which you need to terraform. There are other factors that can help as well, as I will show you very soon. Jungles are very rugged, and you'd have to get huge amounts of plant life gone, but they make great places for you to build ancient ruins, and if you want to you can even build tree houses. That's beyond the scope of this video. Deserts, especially in a flat area like this, are a great place to build a sand style temple or a pyramid, just like that one over there. But yeah, when it comes to houses, you can build your kind of Arab style sandstone houses that you see in all those ancient Arab stuff, or ancient Egypt, or Hebrews, or yeah, that type of stuff would be good for deserts. And of course, lastly, the Badlands are a very good area to build Old West style homes and a saloon or a general store, and you get the idea. Anyway, this is going to be all I'll teach you about location, but location is one of the more key features. If you get a good view, it adds points to your building, how good it can be. And then, whatever biome you're building, you kind of want to build it to match the biome. So if you're in a mesa, maybe use oak wood mostly. If you're in a desert, use sandstone. If you're in a forest, use mostly wood types and stuff. But yeah, I'll be getting more into that in a later part. Anyway, now on to part 2. Number 2. The shape of your build. Now, a very common misconception that people make when building Minecraft is that you should not try to go too far beyond the shape of the build, so they try to limit to maybe 1 or 2 types of rectangles put together. But that is actually a big flaw, because creativity is born in experimentation. So you see, this basic thing will only create a very simple looking house. But this one is somewhat common. You can build a front part to their house, which might have a slightly bigger roof or stuff, but that's somewhat common too. You can also try experimenting with a rounded edge with maybe glass or a slightly rounded wall. This also will give birth to creativity. It makes the roof a bit trickier, but the end result is going to be worth it. So why not try thinking outside of the box for a little bit. And then you can even try offsetting your build off like this one, which is kind of at a different angle. And then you can even build a house with a bunch of shapes like this, and if you manage to get the roof right, it can be a very good build. So don't limit yourself to arbitrary shapes like this, the common rectangle. Try a bit more, like another rectangle, or a round bit, or a bit of everything. In fact, that's how I built Plainview Mansion. You can see that is a very good looking build. So don't limit yourself to shapes like this. Try to think, and you'll be amazed at what you can build well. Don't get me wrong, you can build some things with a rectangle, but don't use it as your only choice. Anyway, now we're going on to part 3. Number 3. Block palette. Now I'm looking at this Minecraft village, and I'm gonna here to show you that they do look pretty decent, but you can make it look better. You see, this is a very limited block palette. It only has 3 different types of blocks. It has planks, it has cobblestone, and it has stripped oak logs. This one's kind of the same, but instead of stripped oak logs, it just uses normal oak logs. Now over here, it's slightly more diverse, along with like cobblestone, oak, and planks, uses some terracotta. But generally, the more blocks you get within a similar color contrast and making sure it looks good, you can generally get some really good builds. Now I'm going to start off with palettes that are pretty simple, where you don't have to think too much of coloring. If you're using wood like this, it is generally very easy to get a good palette, because they're all different shades of brown. So as you can see, this palette has spruce wood that's stripped dark oak, that's stripped birch wood, that's stripped spruce planks, oak planks, and oak that hasn't been stripped. And as you can see, this is a very complex palette, but it's not overbearing, it's nice on the eyes, and it works very well. This works well for also with cobblestone. Cobblestone can go with most anything because it's a neutral color, and you can mix it up with like different types of wood or other colorings of the similar type. That is a good recipe for a good palette. Here my next palette uses mostly white stuff like diorite and quartz with a little bit of basalt for more interest. I like to use this in like Greco-Roman style. I used it in my library in my obsidian craft video just recently. Here's another interesting palette I've come up with. It's mostly blue with a little bit of complementary colours in it. But as you can see, I've got some warped stem that's purple, but most everything else is roughly the same shade of light blue, cyan, or turquoise. And this is probably best used in like a beachside hut or like a seaside town. And then over here, one of my favourite palettes using cobblestone, basalt, and bricks, which this is a very interesting looking deed, especially for your slightly more modern looking house builds. Now the key for a more complex coloured palette is you gotta know the complementary colours. So take red here. Red goes well with green, and it goes reasonably well with light green and like turquoise or cyan. And then it's the same with orange, like goes well with these shades of blue. Then yellow can go with blue, magenta, and purple. Then dark green can go with red and magenta and orange. And then like it's kind of the same as here. So generally the colors go well with the colors right next to them and the colors over them from them. Complementary colors is something you can Google and you can find some good images on that, but this theoretically also works with lighter and darker shades if you know what you're doing. And then light shades with dark shades can give contrast, but you gotta be careful because remember, you gotta make it easy on the eyes. A build has to be easy on the eyes and not too detailed. Now here, you can see how I've used it. Brown kind of is like orange, so it agrees with it, but then this is complemented by this turquoise color for the warped stem and the dark prismarine, and it all comes together making interesting contrast. And this next one, which I'm pretty proud of, is using yellow terracotta with some crimson stems that are stripped, and then using some purple blocks which you find in the end. And this is an interesting mix, a bit cartoony if you like. Then this one kind of is in the same suit, using crimson stripped stems and planks and stuff, and you see it goes well with the lime concrete. As an added thing, I've also used a little bit of lime terracotta for slight contrast between the two shades of green, but this also looks pretty good on the eyes. This next palette I have is cyan going with dark red, because they complement each other rather well. You can build this almost completely out of nether, excluding all the glass stuff, because you can see it's mostly nether materials from 1.6D. But yeah, palette is probably one of the two most important parts of building. If you make a very good palette, it is definitely going to make your build look quite good. And now on to part 4. Number 4. Detail and experimentation. Now after palettes, detailing is a very important part of your building. It can make or break your build pretty easily. Now here I have your standard run-of-the-mill shell of a house. Now this is a pretty decent looking build, but as you can see it has a very limited palette, only 3 blocks. Spruce planks, oak planks, and oak log. But using a decent palette and also like experimentation and detail, you will be able to improve this. Now you have 2 choices on how to do this. You can have a single block wall or a double block wall. Now a 2 block wall is so much better in most every ways, but there are ways you can make single block walls work too, but this is going to be slightly beyond the scope of this video at the moment. So if you want to improve this build, you might want to replace this all just with a wood block. And this might seem like a step backwards, but you're going to see why I do this later on. Alright, now you can see that the whole thing is made a step backwards, but this can be improved by adding a more distinct palette. So I think I'm going to go with some script wood, some spruce I believe. Maybe I'll try dark oak. Yeah, I'll try some dark oak for the side paneling. and then you can use the stairs and the slabs for extra detail. So if I build dark oak planks along these sides, and then I can use like the strip spruce. So if I build strip spruce along the sides, I can try using like dark oak as a contrast along these sides, and then I can like stretch it out a little bit, and then I could probably do the same thing over here, and yeah, this can be some interesting stuff. Now there are many ways you can like use it. Like this is mostly preference, but you can like do all sorts of stuff like this, and this is gonna be what really allows your build to shine from others. So like that's a pretty good look. You gotta just try to experiment a few things like this. I could probably add some let's see. I'll try having some, I know, oak wood. So I'll have some oak wood along the sides to give a little bit more contrast towards the windows, so this gives an interesting feel. And I can also have a skirting board along the bottom of the house, so if I can remove that and replace this, this will also most likely give it an interesting fact. And then if you're not happy, you can just change out blocks and maneuver it. Remember, experimentation is gonna be the key. Okay, so I think I've come up with a good palette for this design. I've used some dark oak planks along the sides for a bit of a edge around the windows near the corners. I've used some dark oak wood along the sides, and I've used some spruce along the top. And then I can probably copy this entire design, and that will be a very good detailing done. Now detailing can depend, there are many ways you can do your detailing, and I'll show you a few little things here. I'm probably going to do the sides the same as the front. Okay, I think this is coming along well. Now I wonder what would happen if I try doing this. I think that's pretty good. Can I do the same thing down here? Ooh, I think I'm coming up with something cool. Now, maybe I might put some spruce trapdoors right here. Nope. Ooh. This is working pretty well, I think. Ooh, that's actually pretty nice, but I think it'll look better with a dark oak trapdoor. Much better. Kind of has a hobbity feel to it, if I ever say so myself. Now all that's left to do is finish the back, and I've completely changed this shell to look so much better than it used to. Remember, it was just a box of planks with some wood at the corners, and now it's starting to look much more refined. So I think I'm gonna start by having maybe something like, ooh, this is coming pretty well, I think. And then some, I don't know, maybe replace this with, okay, that's a bit better, but I'm not really certain that's worth keeping. I'll just probably put this here and use that as a decider once I've got all this done. And, okay, something's not, I know, I made this too thick. House too thick. Yeah, I'm not sure about the middle part. Maybe I'll just have a few support rods here. Like maybe some beams? No, that doesn't work. Maybe of a different shade? And then maybe some stairs to put it in. So there, I think I've done it. I've given this a very cool looking palette along the sides. And remember, if you follow tips like this, remember, experimentation is the key. It allows you to figure out what looks good, what looks bad, what to use and what not to use. So if you experiment with a lot of this, you eventually become very good at palette. And detailing, and those are two really important parts. But now we gotta go on to the next part, which is probably the most important part. And now for part number 5, the most important part, building a roof! Using this very basic template, I built what is basically the run-of-the-mill roof. Now, when people build roofs, they usually use stone brick stairs like this, and it's good that it overhangs here, but there's one thing you can do to really improve it, and that is to like pull off a side here, and then once you're done doing it at the top, do the same thing along the bottom, and then once this is done, it will look quite a bit more detailed and professional. And remember, roofs are, I can't stress enough, they are going to be what makes or breaks what your build will be, even more so than location or shape or palette or experimentation. So, you see this, it juts out and just looks more appealing. Now, this roof design is pretty good for smaller builds, but there's a problem, a really big problem. Look at this one. The roof is it is like dominating the entire build. You just shouldn't build roofs this huge. I kind of stunted how big this house is, but the most important part is it's the roof. But as you can see, this is not a good idea to build it. There are a couple of ways you can build roofs, and there are many designs, and you shouldn't just limit yourself to stairs. In fact, this next design I'm going to show you is going to be probably one of the best solutions to this problem you will hear. As you can see, now I've replaced this thing with a shallower roof. Now when you do a shallow roof, the trick is you need to like use 2 blocks per incline, so it's a much lighter incline, and then you gotta alternate between slabs and then blocks, then slabs, then blocks. And then you can always offset this a bit high depending on what you need to. But also, this can also do with like a bit of expansion along the sides, and this also will give it depth in the same way. Ah yes, much better looking. Now, these are the 2 main roof designs. Now, another thing you might want to consider is like combining a little bit of roof designs that like intertwine with each other. Like, I could build like a circular roof on top of here, or I could build another 45-degree angle roof with steps or stuff. It doesn't really matter, but I'll just show you a little something you can do to this. Okay, so here's the beginning of my plan. What I'm going to have is this roof will intertwine here. Now the key here is you gotta like use logic to know how it blends. And generally you gotta use the block that best suits the situation, and it takes a little time to get used to, but once you get used to it you can kind of figure it out. But yeah, it doesn't take too much thinking, but just let you know that it can be a little bit tricky to get going with more complex roof blending, but as you can see, this seems to be working fine, and I can keep this here, so yeah. Okay, the next thing you want to do is like, just like with the other sides of the roof, you want to make sure you have a good looking overhang, so you got to make sure you have blocks off to the sides like this, and then put blocks along the bottom to complement it, like that, and place those wrong. And this part will need a slab. So there are 2 roof designs that can show you how to do stuff, but roofs can be more complex. You can make them circular, or you can make them even flatter, or yes, just know that the roof is the most important part. I'm probably going to do another tutorial in the near future on more on roofs, but these are the basic roofs. Now when it comes to choosing a block to build roofs out of, almost all occasions you can use black stone brick stairs or stone brick stairs or maybe cobblestone, or you can even like have a mixture with some of them along the side. So I could change this to be stone brick stairs to give it a little bit of contrast. However, if you're building with a different thing that's not a neutral color like black, gray, or white, you will, well, actually you probably shouldn't really build white roofs ever, but if you do build with another color palette, try to make sure it like matches in with like complementary colors. But yeah, I'll just change the size of this roof to stone brick stairs. Okay, so I've done that, and it does look pretty interesting, but maybe you could do with a block high, yeah, but it doesn't, maybe not. It's pretty decent looking. And now all we have to do now is learn how to combine all 5 practices in practice. And if you do some practice with that, you can become a really good builder. Unfortunately, I have gone a little bit overboard with the stuff I've got to explain, but hopefully that will give you a little bit of stuff. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to apply all these steps in motion, and also give you a little bit of hints on how to build very good interiors. Anyway, this is going to be the end of this tutorial. I hope you did enjoy. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like. If you'd like to support the channel, please subscribe, and ring that bell if you want to receive notifications when I post videos. So I post videos on building, redstone, and an SMP called Obsidian Craft if you're interested. And maybe survival tutorials again if you want to see more of that. But yeah, anyway, comment on what you think, and I'll see you in the next video where I build a proper house with all the techniques I've shown you.